This husky wasn't thirsty at all, yet he hoarded the only water source for himself. The moment any other dog came close, he'd bare his teeth and aggressively chase them off. The other dogs were angry but didn't dare speak up. They could only hang their heads and slink away in silence. Only the new big guy was different. He walked over to the ice in front of the husky and effortlessly chiseled out a hole. When the dogs saw this, they all rushed over. Not only did Buck not chase them away, he generously shared the water source. The husky watched, seething with anger and frustration. He thought that as long as he ran fast enough, the owner would always favor him, never understanding that a lead dog needs the support of his teammates even more. One day, the woman was scouting ahead when suddenly the ice cracked beneath her. The next second, she plunged straight into the freezing lake. The man rushed over frantically. Watching the woman struggle and gradually sink, Buck shot past him like lightning in that critical moment and dove into the water. In the dark, bone-chilling depths, Buck carried the unconscious woman on his back, ramming his body against the ice again and again. Finally, he managed to save her. But by then, Buck was completely exhausted. The man was so focused on pulling the woman to shore that he didn't notice Buck could barely hold on. Before long, Buck couldn't sustain himself any longer and could only let his body drift into the darkness. The man lay on the ice, calling out desperately. Following the sound to find Buck's location, he drew his knife and frantically hacked at the ice, but it was too thick. The blade snapped after just a few strikes. The man collapsed to his knees, overwhelmed with guilt. He'd never imagined this seemingly clumsy big dog would risk everything to save a life. Just then, a tool suddenly appeared in front of him. The man instinctively grabbed it and continued pounding the ice. When he suddenly snapped back to reality and turned around, there stood the very Buck he'd been desperately thinking about. It was the husky. Seeing Buck growing closer to the man, the husky went crazy with jealousy, his heart filled with bitterness and resentment. Even the woman, who'd previously looked down on Buck, had started trusting him and gave him an extra chicken leg.
Now I do too.
Unfortunately, the husky witnessed this scene too. He knew it was time to settle things once and for all. So that night, the rabbit Buck had just saved barely made it a few steps before the husky brutally killed it on the spot, then glared at Buck with a vicious, challenging stare. The husky suddenly lunged at Buck, but Buck showed no fear. He stood his ground firmly, waited for the right moment, dodged to the side, bit down on the husky's neck, and tossed him into the air like a rag doll before pinning him heavily to the ground, as if asking, "Do you give up?" Hearing the other dogs cheering, the husky knew he'd completely lost. Under the gaze of all the dogs, he slunk away, looking utterly pathetic. The next day, with the team lacking a lead dog, Buck confidently stepped to the front, but the owner thought he lacked experience and ended up dragging and hauling him to the back of the line. Then they brought in an experienced old dog to lead instead. However, when the old dog looked back at the angry Buck behind him, he didn't dare covet that position. He absolutely refused to wear the harness, and to avoid offending either side, he simply started acting like a stubborn fool in the snow. The man had no choice but to compromise and let Buck take a turn as lead dog. Please follow my channel. I'll be updating with movies every day, right on schedule.